Hi, I'm Rochelle Clausen.
And I'm Nicole Trombley. Rochelle and I are the co-directors of Anatomyscapes, and we co-author the Anatomy for Touch column at Massage Bodywork magazine.
In this issue, we're taking a closer look at tendons.
Tendons. Rochelle, what do tendons look like?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of us assume that tendons are just the cables at the end of muscles.
Right.
But the reality is that there's a lot of different shapes and sizes of tendons.
And what's really interesting is that those shapes, those varying shapes of the tendons, both at the big picture level that we can touch and see with our hands, and down to the micro level of how collagen fibers are organized to create those tendons, this determines so much of how the tendon functions in the body.
Yeah, and another thing about tendons is they're really beautiful. People are really surprised in the dissection lab when they see tendons, how gorgeous they are. And so we've shared with you in this column also some images that we took in the dissection lab just to show you how varied and beautiful tendons really are. We're also going to share with you a clip now from one of our online courses called The Rectus Sheath, where we explore in even more specific detail the flat tendons of the abdominal muscles. So enjoy this video.
And don't forget to check out those images in this issue.
See you next time.
Well, Rochelle, flat tendons make up the rectus sheath. What are they?
What is a flat tendon? So we all know that tendons are the part of the muscle that attach to the bone. Like that is where the contractile muscles change, contractile fibers fade out, and the non-contractile fibers made of collagen form the tendon and then connect to its attachment or its origin, its insertion, right? But on the torso, the arrangement of our muscles are very different than they are on our limbs. The function is different, right? We have this cylindrical trunk that muscles are wrapping around and encasing and transversing the limbs into the trunk. And in order for those muscles to have connections, they're flat. First of all, the muscles themselves typically are quite flat and thinner in many cases than you might actually think. The drawings also sort of lead us astray, even though our hands are probably telling us that there's only a 1/4 inch of tissue between this person's skin and their bone, and you can feel that. You really take into consideration sometimes how many layers of muscle may be there, which means that these layers of muscle are also quite thin. But they get even thinner as they go to where their origin or insertion is. But it spans oftentimes, or for specifically, when we're talking about the obliques, those non-contractile fiber elements of the tendinous muscular unit is also flat, and it continues in this kind of fan-shaped fibers of the muscle, then go into this flat tendon. And we do this little demo with a plastic bag and some putty inside of it. And when you have it rolled up, it looks very much like a bicep. And then when you lay it out flat, you can kind of perceive it as these flat tendons here. So if you look at your monitor, you probably have been staring at it. This is a picture of the external obliques that we took in the lab. And the fibers are these sort of pink and yellow areas. So there's a lot of fat lives within our tissue to provide protection for vessels, protection for nerves, gliding and sliding surfaces. You will find that there's often this little traces of yellow. But the fiber direction here is very much on an oblique angle, because this is the obliques. And those fibers then continue on into this thinner, whiter area at the bottom, which is the flat tendon of the external obliques. In this case, it has been reflected away from the muscle that is below, which would be the internal obliques, if we have it labeled correctly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there you have it. So the tendons fibers are aligned in one parallel direction. They are optimized for force transmission on one plane because they are the continuation of one muscle. So when you think about flat tendons, you think of singular fiber direction, one muscle is connected to it, and that's how it is that it transmits its force to where it's going. So now we're going to